I'm proud to be the son of an Italian immigrant, and my grandparents' and dad's story of how they immigrated to America, I think, is an interesting one. So my grandpa started the process of immigrating to America in 1906 when he was 40 years old. He was born 1 year after the United States Civil War ended. He made the trip alone 4 times, but in 1921 he had gone back to Italy. He got his family, brought them back, another 8-day trip on a ship with what they called steerage, very poor part of the ship. He came here and he settled down in Racine, Wisconsin. He worked as a laborer his whole life, as many Italian immigrants did, and he made a successful life for himself and for his family. I never met my grandpa. He passed away 8 years before I was born, but everybody tells me he was the kindest, most giving, gentle man. I think about what he did at age 40 to start a whole new life with kids and a whole new world and not speaking a word of English. Italian immigrants at that time were near the bottom of the social hierarchy here in the United States, but that still put them way above the standard of living that they had in Italy. The other thing that my grandpa did, one of the rules he put into place that my dad told me was, hey, no more speaking Italian outside the home. We're in America. Americans speak English. You are going to be an American. You speak English. So it was forced upon my dad and his brother and sisters to speak English, and he took it so far as that he never taught any of his kids. My dad never taught me, never taught any of my sisters or brother. Even though my dad never taught me a word of Italian, Sundays we would drive down to Racine and he would tell me about Aquavena and the olive trees that are there and the chestnut trees, and how those two things, from the olives, olive oil, and the chestnuts, brought all the money into the village. That was the whole economy. They grew their own gardens, they had water from the mountain that came down, and they lived a very simple life. As an 8, 10, 12-year-old boy, I really found the stories interesting, but I didn't have an appreciation for what he was saying really at the core. My dad passed away in 1997. He never had a chance to even visit, to go back. He never had a chance to do anything, really, because we just didn't have enough money. It's always within the back of my mind, I should probably go back and find it and look at it and just find it and see if I can reconnect. I found a site on Facebook, and using Google Translate, I wrote in English the whole story of my grandma and grandpa and translated it to Italian and posted it on the website. And the village, people from the village responded. Ultimately, it led to me finding people from my grandma and grandpa's side of the family. The village is no longer this poor village. It's certainly not fancy or ritzy, but it is solidly middle class, and they had a nice restaurant with a patio where as far as you could see olive trees, just like my dad described. Aquavena opened up its arms to me, and they had a reception for me, but they all came out, and there was even this 90-plus-year-old man in a wheelchair, very seldom gets out of his house. He was the only living person who was alive when my dad left. So it was an overwhelming experience. We also discovered that there's a statue in the back of the church that has my grandpa's name on the bottom of it. It says, a gift from my grandpa, Salvatore, and his brother, Francesco. When my grandpa got to America, he sent money back to his brother so they could put this statue in the church. He cared about the village, and so they put this statue up, and then the women of the village also put the tapestry together commemorating their safe passage to America and had their names on it. And so every student, every child who goes to school in Aquavena knows the story of my grandpa immigrating to America. It's all come full circle. We're all back together again, and I just think it's great.